So, Virgin Galactic is still in the growing industry of spaceflight. And because of this could mean that by investing into SPCE, you're investing into a fantastic company that has the potential to be this monumental and incredible player in aerospace. So, Virgin Galactic is still one of my favorite stocks that I own. And to tell you that holding this stock has been a roller coaster would definitely be an understatement. Not only has this stock been incredibly volatile since it first IPO'd in 2019, but over the recent months, in conjunction with the growth stocks correction, there was just bad news after bad news that kept hitting Virgin Galactic, including all the insider selling and the delayed test flight. But luckily, all of this stuff is now behind us, and the stock has actually risen quite a bit from its initial low of $15 a share back in mid-May. It definitely dipped into what I would consider undervalued territory, and if you were able to snag up some shares when it was in this range, honestly, good for you, because it was really a steal when it was at that $15 price range. And while it did dip briefly below its current trend line it was following, the stock has now managed to recover back to its previous trend line. So I think by this point, a lot of people might be wondering what Virgin Galactic has in store over the next few months, and if it's still a good time to buy the stock, all of which I'm going to get into. So let's begin. Probably the most overarching and obvious theme with Virgin Galactic is that, their goal is to send people up, right? Including Richard Branson himself. And coming up, they actually have hopes to release their Spaceship 3 for a test flight as well, which means they will eventually be able to tell all of the shareholders and Virgin Galactic fans alike what the whole experience was like. So there's a lot of really cool things coming up, and I think this should really start to excite any space investors. This is such an early industry right now, so I think if there's any doubts that Virgin Galactic couldn't 2 or 3x in price this year, think again. Virgin Galactic is definitely a stock that I can see hitting $100 a share. And honestly, right now, it seems like a lot of negative press is now behind the company. And moving forward, it seems like they'll be able to reach all of these goals that they've set for themselves. So let's get into what exactly Virgin Galactic has in store for the next 3 months and some catalysts to keep an eye out for. I'm thinking in the coming weeks, Virgin Galactic is going to, at the very least, announce when their next test flight will be. And this is actually really important because, as reflected in the past, these kinds of test flights usually tend to act as a catalyst for either positive or negative stock movement, depending on the outcome, of course. Granted, based on their most recent test flight though, I don't think investors should have anything to fear. Of course, the outcome of the test flight could always not go as planned, but I just don't see that happening this time. Fingers crossed. And remember, it's not like Virgin Galactic has to have a test flight this month. Even something as simple as an announcement for the next test flight should create a nice catalyst for some green movement in the stock price. And I actually think there could be a pretty good chance that the actual test flight will be in July, but this is just speculation on my part. And if you'll recall, since their last test flight, the stock has doubled in price, which is such an insane movement for any stock, regardless of the industry it's in. So just take some time to soak that in for a second. The stock recently had 100% ROI in less than 30 days. But moving back to my original point, it's still unclear exactly when Richard Branson will take a flight up, but man, I think it'd be pretty cool to see, not gonna lie. And speaking of that, I definitely do think that Richard Branson will be aboard on one of the test flights at least sometime this year in 2021. And man, if that flight is successful, Virgin Galactic's stock price is going to skyrocket. It's going to create a huge amount of euphoria, confidence, and optimism with both shareholders and future passengers alike. Honestly, this whole space race that's been playing out between billionaires right now is pretty insane. You have Elon, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson all trying to take a piece of the pie and basically waving their dicks around to see whose is the biggest. Regardless of that though, just think about it for a second. So the government creates all of these contracts to incentivize these aerospace companies. For example, SpaceX has been making a ton of money from these government contracts. That money is then taken and put back into the whole space race, so it can obviously keep growing and getting better and better. And honestly, what this all amounts to is that all of these companies are absolutely laying the groundwork for humanity and advanced transportation centuries into the future. So in conclusion, with all that being said, I don't want to steer anyone the wrong way. SPCE is a stock that has an incredible amount of potential, and I do believe that it will actually hit $100 a share at some point. And despite the fact that there's going to be a ton of catalysts coming up for this stock, which would definitely make for some really nice swing trades, I'm still looking at Virigin Galactic as a long-term growth opportunity in an industry that is still young. And let's be clear, because Virigin Galactic is still early to an industry that hasn't reached its full growth potential, Virigin Galactic is still a risky stock. Please do your own research before investing in a company like this, and don't take what I say as financial advice. But yeah, if you're wondering if it's too late to invest in SPCE, it's definitely not, especially if this is a stock that you plan on holding long term and don't care about all the short-term price fluctuations. Virigin Galactic is positioning themselves for some serious growth. And remember, this is still such an early company in the grand scheme of things. But with all that said, I am incredibly optimistic about Virigin Galactic's future. I think spaceflight is going to be used for both recreation and efficient transportation in the future. And regardless of where Virigin Galactic decides to invest most of their time, there's no doubt in my mind that the space industry is eventually going to be a fundamental part of humanity's future. As always, thanks for listening to my video guys, and I'll see you next time.